Sweet. All right. Well, welcome to Cash Flow Conversations. This is going to be a fun conversation today. We got Josh Altop and Jake Grant. You guys have a couple different companies together. What are the names of your companies?
Dancers United and sorry, I love it. So we have one company and there's two branches in which we fulfill that. One is RevX Partners, which basically helps businesses at a high level install bulletproof, sales systems, so you know how to, people, processes, and playbooks. So we make sure that businesses truly can grow and can either one day cash flow or cash out of their business. To do that, you got to have your sales process as an asset. So collectively do that together. The other is the Sales League, which is basically was birthed from RevX and fulfilling on all of those clients that we have. And it's basically where we train sales pros, and it is like you go toe to toe with people. It's very high touch, very like in your face to help you get better. And so it's a really great training ground to just sharpen your axe. It doesn't matter if you're just getting started in the sales space or if you've been in it for a long time, like Jake and myself. You can always grow. You can always sharpen your axe. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll say this: the Sales League is Sales League's a party. It's a blast. It's a lot of fun. Because one thing I'll add, like Josh and I believe, is there's a lot of training out there on how to do things in this specific tactic. And what we believe is a lot of people don't necessarily need more training; they just need more practice. And so we are very intentional about creating a conducive environment where sales professionals and business owners can come together and practice the things that they are learning, because that's when you really get better, right? Just knowing how to do something is one piece of the puzzle. So it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I talk about getting in the batter's box. And in sales, it's kind of hard because you have to have a prospect to get in the batter's box, or you have to get really uncomfortable around your peers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about baseball players get paid millions of dollars to best case scenario bat 3 out of 10, and in sales, I'm like, why are you tripping? Like, it's okay, it's normal, but you got to have opportunity. Most sales professionals don't realize they actually can control their opportunity. We're trying to help offset this weird dogma, or just, I don't know what you want to call it, but this belief in the industry that it's like, oh, Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, they're just going to flood my calendar with appointments. I don't ever have to really do anything other than take a call and close somebody. And I'm like, man, that's not how you have a sustainable career in sales. That's how you have a flash in the pan experience in sales. But
well, you said something interesting. You said in the beginning, did you say you want to teach them how to cash flow or cash out?
Yeah, the businesses. So for them to be able to cash flow or cash out in their business, again, Jake might be, but I'm not some M&A type of guru, but I know this much. Your sales process has to be an asset, meaning that it's got to be an asset, okay?
A formalized process.
A formalized process. So to do that, now the question is, what can we do? What can we offer? What problem can we solve to help businesses make sure that they have that sales process so dialed in that it actually is an asset? That's what we do. And
love it.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, we could talk about sales and business all day, but the purpose of this podcast really is to show people they're not alone when they're worried about investing in themselves or taking that leap. I remember when I quit I have a master's in architecture, and when I quit architecture to quote unquote sell garages, I moved to Chicago and help the man design the last room of the house that he could call his, the garage. And we would do garage cabinetry and garage flooring and car lifts, and we did some cool stuff. I more than doubled my income in 9 months. And I realized that if I help people get what they want, I can get what I want. The old Zig Ziglar saying. But when I called my mom and told her that, I got a master's, I paid for my master's degree, and I'm going to quit. I'm going to move on to something else. I'm going to pivot. She cried. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about the thought process and the struggles and the wins that you guys went through, because you didn't always start out in sales and you weren't always successful. So, I kind of want to get back into the story of, did you go to college? After college, what did you do? And then what led you to where you are today? I mean, I don't know who wants to go first here, but I know that there's moments where you're questioning yourself and the decisions, and there's no one on your shoulder saying you're doing the right thing. You have to believe in yourself. So what was that like for you guys?
Yeah, so I guess for me, I do have a college degree. I have a college degree. I went to the University of New Mexico. Grew up in Albuquerque. God bless the people in Albuquerque. I'd never moved back there, though. It's kind of a nightmare. A lot of crazy people there. But yeah, I got a college degree while I was in college. So it was kind of crazy. My first introduction into outside of the typical doing, like I had a lawn care business with my brother. My brother and I sold pies, like pecan pies for Christmas to neighbors. We also had chickens, and we sold chickens or sold eggs to the neighbors as well. So we had growing up, we had all these little like side hustle things that we did together. But the first like business I started was a marketing agency while I was in college. So I did lead gen for business owners while I was trying to get a degree. Also, I got married while I was in college as well, and we had our first kid. So the last like 2 years of college was just a whirlwind of pretty much me doing everything wrong, like not being able to like pass certain exams and tests, not knowing how to run a business, trying to figure out how to be a husband, trying to figure out how to be a dad as well. And so that was my first intro into it. And I made like a ton of mistakes. I've told Josh this before, first business partner that I brought a business partner on board because I didn't know what I was doing at all. And I'm like, this guy, he was like, 30 years my senior. And I'm like, I'm going to work with him because he clearly knows what he's talking about. Yeah. And come to find out that
knowledge.
Yeah. So for me, you talk about investing in yourself, and part of that was like finding other people that had been where I wanted to be, so-called where I wanted to be. Come to find out that this guy had was basically a snake oil salesman and had scammed a bunch of people, stole like $2.5 million from the last company he was at. So when we partnered together, we grew the agency. And then he ran off to Mexico with like 150 grand and scammed a bunch of people in some like Airbnb course and bought drugs and all that other stuff that you do in whatever you do in Mexico. I remember my wife telling me, she was like, just keep in mind, Jake, no one goes to Mexico and stays there unless they have to. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. I thought he was just like really rich, and I was just like so dumb at the time and just had like no clue at all. So after that whole thing, I kind of tried to figure out, okay, what am I going to do next? Shut down the agency. And that's when I got into sales. So I really cut my teeth. Obviously I was selling for my own agency and having conversations with clients and doing like your own sales for your business. And after I shut that down, I really cut my teeth at a company called Traffic and Funnels, where I came on board and was an SDR for them. And then slowly, after a while, worked my way up to client success director there, but really learned how to sell, how to have like conversations with people, how to listen, all the stuff. A lot of the stuff that Josh and I teach now, I learned a handful of that while I was working there. And honestly, I think it was one of the best experiences of my life. I grew a ton during that season, met a ton of incredible people, and it was a nice point in life where I kind of had some breathing room where I could make really, really good money. I didn't have to worry about running a business. I didn't have to worry about, okay, I got to make sure leads are coming in. I got to make sure I'm closing these leads. I got to make sure I'm fulfilling on clients as well. And also figuring out how to, again, be an adult, like raise a family. So it's a nice breather where I just had to focus on one thing. I just had to focus on selling. And I think for, at least for me, with a lot of entrepreneurs, is they think that there's this like one linear path, and that if you take a step back, it's like you failed. And I think for a short period for me, I like started my business, did not work out at all. And then I had to go get a job, quote unquote. Well, when you're in sales, you're still technically running your own business. Mm-hmm. But it was like, man, I wasn't able to do the whole entrepreneur thing. Felt for a short period that I had failed, had to take a step back. But honestly, it was like one of the best things that ever happened to me. And it's not always like, sometimes those seasons are necessary, where you kind of just have to take a breather, get things realigned, and that's okay. And now, Josh and I met at Traffic and Funnels. There's a really funny story too about that. Maybe we'll tell in a second. But Josh and I met there. We worked together really, really closely for about 3 years. And then after we both left that season, we had so much fun while we were at that organization. I think for us, it just came down to like, we believe the same things, we have the same values, we have a ton of fun working together. Well, let's just figure out something. So in the beginning, there wasn't, like, what we have now is not obviously what we started with. We just knew like, hey, we would need to work together because we have so much fun together, we align so much on our values, and it just made a lot of sense in my mind. And now we have like a lot of clarity, vision, direction in terms of where we're taking the company that I'm super, super excited about as well.
Cool.
So,
you guys went through you went through the 3 stages that I consider like that bring somebody to success. The first is realizing you gotta quit a W-2 because whatever you're changing or whatever you're trading your time for money, you're never going to actually become successful. There's a ceiling there every year. The second thing is you learn how to sell someone else's product, which really is just learning how to engage and be genuinely curious and helping people get what they want. So you're selling somebody else's. And then finally you become an entrepreneur when you learn how to sell your own product, when you have your own value that you can give to people. And so you guys are in that third phase where it feels like you're taking a step back at some point, but I don't think you guys are. If we could do another interview here in 2 years, I think it'll be a lot different story too, because you guys are only how old? When did you guys start all this?
We just celebrated a year.
Yeah, year. You guys are infants.
Yeah.
So Josh, let's get some background on yours.
Yeah. Mine's not as cool. No one stole a bunch of money from me and went to Mexico and blew it on drugs. Yeah. So grew up.
Jake, you still have time.
Yeah, it's plenty of time. Jake could totally just pop off and go crazy. Grew up in like a church type home, right? My father was a pastor, so I grew up as a musician. So 25-year music career, playing and traveling, and I got to see a lot of the world, which was really, really cool. Got to produce a lot of great records. I still do music. I'm actually doing a record right now for somebody in Philly. But so I was doing music pretty much my whole life. I played football and I did music. I played football into college. I didn't play at any major, D1 college or anything like that. And it's not like I was like some All-American, but it was fun to be able to play sports and just keep playing. And it was, fun. And I had a great time. I got to a point where I was getting injured. I was at the university that I was at, and man, I could not figure out how to fix it, and I think now looking back, I probably just didn't have enough drive to know how to fix it. I had drive to play and be great, but I didn't understand all that, because at the end I was like, I'm not going pro. I'm definitely not going Canadian, not playing arena. And I was like, because I'm so future driven, it's hard for me to keep pushing when I know the end is inevitable. You know what I mean? I'm just like, well, I'm not going pro. Why would I focus on, keeping my body held together for 2 more years of college just when it's going to be over, when I could probably just do some damage? So that's when I transferred from the university that I was at I went to basically a music university in Florida, got my degree in recording engineering, started working. I'll save the music talk for another day, but it was great. I got to do a lot of stuff. From my first show, I think I was 13. First time I ever played in front of people, I was 5, and I played in front of this like large church, and I just played, a church service, and it was cool, and I loved it, and I just always loved playing drum and making records. Well, I met Taylor, who owns that company, Traffic and Funnels, through music, which is funny, and I'll tell the funny story real quick. I was on tour, music directing and drumming for Jake's wife's father's group for their reunion tour, And I met Jake without meeting him in a fantasy football league while we were playing. So that was hysterical. And I think he got second place that year.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'd never played fantasy football before, ever. And
Wow.
my father-in-law was like, hey, if you're going to be, part of this family, you got to know sports. So I played, and I got second.
There's another story there about basketball. So we'll tell. So fast forward, I meet this guy, and he's just like, yo, what are you doing with your life? I'm like, I'm making records, and I'm going to have a song, and it's going to hit it big. And he's like, what does that even mean? And I was like, well, you just work a lot for free, and then one day someone gives you a lot of money. And so I'm oversimplifying it, but what it realized was in that moment and in that conversation is the first time somebody had shown me how to reverse engineer my goals. I kind of knew how to do it. I was always trying to figure it out, but I didn't actually see the process. Once I saw the process, it made me realize I don't have control. Like there's like 8 or 10 people who can determine if all of this hard work that I do actually gets acknowledged, gets paid for what it's worth, and has any possibility of making me money and creating a catalog, which creates residual to a degree.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I hate that. I hate that like I have such little control no matter how hard I work. And I know some creatives will be like, no man, your stuff gets seen and it's this, and I'm like, nah. I'm older than Jake, and so like for me, once I started getting financial education, because I didn't have it growing up at all. So I mean, you want to talk about a late bloomer to investing in yourself and finances. I mean, yeah, I spent a lot of money on the second college that I went to, and I invested a lot there. I've always like bet, I was always betting on myself, but I didn't know what it meant to be strategic, have a game plan, spend money on yourself, and to yield a return for a reason. And I didn't know anything about investing into what I now do, doing commercial real estate and stuff like that. None of that. So once I learned that, and it just popped off like light bulbs. It's like somebody basically took all the patch bay cables and was like, oh, this is your actual connection from here to here to here. And it opened me up, and I was like, oh, I need more kerosene on the fire right now. How do I do that? That's where sales came in. Once I was like, oh, I'll just do sales, bring in some cash, and I'll keep doing this music thing on the side. It was like I accepted an offer on a Thursday. I started working on a Monday, and now almost 4 years ago, I've never turned around. I've never looked back, from my side. And Jake's been in sales, pushing 6 years now, I think. But for me, like, it's been about 4. And it's like looking back, it's like, how did I just cut something that I have done my whole life? 25 years. I've never done anything else. I've never I had odd end jobs, but they were always somehow related to music. Yeah, I'll play drums for you. I'll manage for you. I'll make that track. I'll do those things. I'll do this. I'll run your merch. I'll, do tour management. I would do anything I could try to do just to pay my bills. And then, I had times when I had to like lay sod or, do different types of construction or yard work, all that. But it wasn't until this moment when I learned how to reverse engineer my goals, put a game plan into place, take action, and then I started learning how to invest into myself, whether hiring a coach, hiring a mental coach. I think this first year we've probably invested into our business for Jake and I alone. I'm not talking ads. I'm not talking nothing. We've probably paid close to $100,000 now into investing into ourselves just in our first year alone, because we now understand the power of like, why would I try to do this on my own when this person can help me expedite this journey? I still get the same knowledge. I still have to experience it and do it, but I'm not having to experience all the hardship and pain for no reason. Like that seems crazy that people choose to do that. Yeah. So I got into sales, and it just took off. It was really great. I had a lot of great numbers. I whooped a bunch of people's butts. I loved it, and I had zero sales experience ever. To my knowledge, I had zero sales experience. What I had was all of the skills that most people try to acquire later in their career. I naturally had them because I had spent my whole life having to sell myself for a gig or for a job or for something. And I knew how to have communications because as a speaker, I did a lot of touring and traveling, but I'd also speak as well, and teach and train. And there was a time where I was an actual physical high school teacher. Most people don't know that. So,
what'd you teach?
I taught music.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying all that to say that my journey that led me to meet Jake at this place, a lot of it had to do with taking a bet on myself. Sometimes it was taking a bet on investing time into myself to say no to one thing so I could say yes to this. But more times than not, it was taking money and saying, hey, I need this person's help, or I need to find this information out by, learning from this or from doing from that. But it's been awesome. It turned into basically me learning about sales, me understanding the power of it, then realizing I love teaching about it. I love training about it. I love helping people have the option of choice. Like, to me, the reason why I say sales so much is not because I want people to be like a used car salesman or always try to push people on things. I want people to know how to communicate, know how to solve problems, and have the freedom of choice. The fastest way that you can make money in the world right now, legally, is sales. Okay? It's sales. Find me something faster and I'm game. But you're not going to as far as cash flow. That cash flow, if you leverage it right, then you can invest into yourself in a new way, which is what we started doing. Real estate, trading, other businesses, buying small businesses. It's like, but that would have never happened if I didn't first get into sales, give myself the power of choice, partner with somebody, like in my case, partnering with Jake as business partners, to figure out like, hey, what's this thing that we're both passionate about, and what are the needs in the industry that allow us to step into that. But if you ask us why we're doing this, it will always be because we want to see people have the freedom of choice that we both have. Second reason is we want to consume as much resource as possible so that we can build that which we feel called to build. Which for us, why when Jake says the same values, it is we are aligned that we both want to have, it's kind of a hot topic word right now on social media, but passive income. First of all, there's no such thing as passive income for all you people out there who are wondering. There might be active, like, hey, who uses the analogy where he talks about like passive? It's like the merry-go-round. You have to first get that dang merry-go-round spinning, but it doesn't spin for the rest of its life. You still got to put your hand on it every now and then. But I digress. So that is our goal, why we're building the business that we're building. First people, second profit. But the profit is not because me and Jake got Lambo dreams. Again, we love fast cars. We both probably want the Rolls Royce SUV. We both want natural. So it's not that we're against cars. It's that we want to be able to have as much resource. The same way as if a builder had as much lumber, nails, tools. If they had as much resource as possible, what could they build? So that's the backstory.
It's beautiful. I love it, guys. You've hit on so many topics. I want to try and start with some of the basic stuff rather than the more advanced. But I think people are so good at complicating progress because they think they have to know what the end goal looks like, and you don't. You just have to know the right next step. There's a stigma attached with sales. When I was growing up, mom and dad never wanted me to be a used car salesman. And when we talk sales, we feel like we're like pulling the sheets over somebody's eyes, like I got you. I'm going to make money off of you, and you don't even get it. Like, that is the opposite of sales. And for me, that epiphany happened back in Chicago when I watched these guys go, dude, I want a car lift. I need a car to get my Ferrari off the floor. I want to put some nice epoxy on the flooring and organize my tools on the side. I just got to draw that up and then watch these people install it. And then the dude was super happy and would write a check for $25,000. Yeah. And it's like, wow, money is a tool. That was for me the realization is money's just a tool to get what you want, and wealth is the ability to create value. And as long as you can create value for someone, you'll make money. So for the people listening, cash flow conversation is all about how do you generate cash flow. One, you got to get out of your own way. And what that means is stop trying to think yourself into success, but go into a position where you can help someone else get what they're looking for, and then you just take a piece of the transaction, and that's called sales. You guys ever heard Zig Ziglar talk about the idea of sales? Yeah. He goes into this big rant about the farmer who bought the tractor, and the salesman who sold the tractor made money, and the factory who made the steel made the money, and he just goes down the list, and he goes, there was sales throughout the entire process just so you can go eat food. And it makes you get so motivated just to realize that sales isn't tricking people, it's helping people get what they want. And so I want you guys to do something, because I heard your old boss define this one time that I thought was pretty profound. How would you define sales?
Yeah.
Do you have an easy way to sum that up?
Yeah. Sales is solving someone's problems. That's all it is. Sales is connecting.
And what is the
solution.
role then of a salesperson?
Yeah. So the role of a salesperson is to, in my opinion, and Jake can answer for his thing, but we're pretty aligned on this. The role of a sales professional is to be able to lead a prospect to the best decision possible for themselves in whatever moment that is. Let's say it's a farmer wanting to get a tractor. The sales professional's job is not to sell him the most expensive tractor. The sales professional's job is to find out, by asking questions, what does that farmer need? What are the problems that he currently has, and what could be the problems that that farmer could have 6 months to 6 years from now? And do we have a solution that would solve not only his current needs, but his future needs up until X amount of point? Then once you do that, through leading the prospect to that moment, you have now been able to do that through asking questions, and that is your diagnose phase. You are diagnosing what is going on, what is best for them in this moment. Now, my job is not to convince you, it's not to persuade you and do that. My job is to help lead you to the answer and to persuade yourself. Mm-hmm. Because it's about your decision, not me. Mm-hmm. I'm not affected. My corn, my crops, they're not affected by this tractor. Your corn and your crops are affected by this tractor. So the best thing I can do for you is lead you to the best possible outcome. Well, I only have money for this. Well, let's talk about that. What does that actually look like? Could you leverage credit? Could you leverage this? Is there any benefit for you to even do that? If not,
right.
Great, then just get this. But to answer, to put a bow on this, for me, sales is basically solving problems. We do that by leading our prospect. We lead them to the best possible decision for them, their situation in that moment. Another way that we do that is through asking questions. Once we've found out the information that we need, we then prescribe said solution. If we do not have said solution, Sales Pro must bow out or connect them to another option. That is why we have the stigma that we have on a sales professional. Because once that moment happens, most sales pros won't bow out if they really don't have a solution, because they want the money more than they want to help the prospect.
Or, yeah, I agree with you. Or I think it gets a bad stigma because someone puts someone in a position that's not in the prospect's best interest at that time. Sometimes sales involves delaying and postponing and saying, you know what, as a representative who wants to try and help you solve your problems, I don't think what you are telling me is your actual problem right now. And if you were to spend money on this, XYZ, I don't think you're going to be happy. So I'm not going to be the one to allow you to do that.
100%. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though. Shutting it down. Go ahead, Jake.
Shutting it down.
I think ultimately it just, like as you said, Josh, it just comes down. Sales is all about just helping someone make the decision that makes the most sense for their business or their life. You're just helping people make decisions. Yeah. That's all it is. That's why you make the money that you make when you're in a sales position. That's why we have salespeople, is because decision making is actually hard. There's tons of books written on decision making and thinking time and being able to make the right decisions at the right time and the right moment. Like you were talking, Matt, about a lot of people think that they're moving back in their progress and they're trying to move forward, and maybe they're not as far along as they wish they were. But ultimately it comes down to making the best decision for where you're at right now. And that's what sales is all about, is just taking the information you have, making it and guiding someone to make that best decision. That's really what it is.
I like it. I think that a true sales professional understands their role is not just to make a bunch of money, and that's the way you guys are describing this.
I think that's because they understand that it's the byproduct. Mm-hmm. Like the great salespeople that I look up to are people that I see and I'm like, God, they're so good at this, they're so good at that. They're good at that because their motivation is not, they're so aware that collecting cards is going to happen no matter what. The commission checks are going to come no matter what, because that is a lag indicator, not a lead indicator. That is the byproduct of doing the right thing. When you put the prospect first, or you put because it's not even just putting the prospect first, it's putting what's best for that moment, whatever that is, when you can do that, it will yield. You know what I mean? It's going to beget the thing that you actually want, but you've got to be focused on here, and it's a telltale of it or not.
Yeah. In my profession, we used to joke about commission breath.
Oh yeah.
You know, someone's not having a good quarter or a good few months, it's all over their face, and they're just trying to make money, and it is the most unattractive. There's an old saying, desperation is a stinky cologne. Mm-hmm. And when someone's trying to make money, it's hard to hide it.
Yeah.
It really is.
So when you talk about sales, if I were to set up a booth on the side of the road and sold shoelaces, you know, 90% of the people walking by have shoelaces. So there's people that have a need for shoelaces, but it's not a very big problem to solve. So then, talk to me about that. How do you identify what a good offer it actually is? Because you guys come in as sales professionals, you know, you charge for your service. I want to talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you guys come into these businesses and help their sales process? And is there a certain niche that you guys look for?
Yeah. Jake, do you want to start? All right, well.
On how we help people, I mean, so essentially, like as Josh said at the beginning, when people come to us and when we're helping them with their sales process, we have like 3 things that we're going to look at. The first thing is your people. So making sure that you have the right like individuals on your team. So we'll actually like audit the sales team. We actually did this recently with a company where we basically had to fire everyone on the team and then bring all new people in because I mean they basically had a bunch of like just not even B players, because we can deal with B players. They had a bunch of C players, and so we just had to flip the whole team. So that's the first thing that we're going to look at, is you got to make sure before you look at systems, your sales process, is who do you actually have on your team? Because those are the ones, you can have the best process in the world, but if you have a bunch of numbnuts, it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. Second thing,
really quick, what's a C player to you? Like someone that's not vested, doesn't show up on time, doesn't like. What is a C player?
Yeah, I mean that's super simple. One, their closing percentage is well below 20%. They can't even do the bare minimum, which is a 20% close rate. They don't show up on time to meetings. They have horrible communication in the comms channels, whatever that is, whether you're using Slack, Telegram, Asana. They're never turning in their notes on time. They have no idea where their prospects are actually at. They have horrible pipeline management. They're unaware of, you know, why something didn't close. They have horrible self-awareness. I mean, just the basic things that you see from most workers right now.
Mm-hmm. I would say the biggest thing is its standards. Someone who has like just very low standards, and you can tell that they just don't care, right? Yeah. If we have someone on the team and they're like making, let's say they're in a role where the OTE for that role is, let's say, 15 plus K a month, right? And if they're making 6 or 7, and you talk with them and they're like, how do you feel about this? What are some of your goals? And they're like, yeah, I'm pretty happy. That's a telltale sign. Yeah, I'm good. Are you on pace to hit your goals? Yeah, I'm on pace. We were at dinner last night, so I'm gonna just keep using this joke over and over because I thought it was hilarious. My wife, by the way, is like the funnier version in the relationship.
Your cousin?
We don't need to talk about that. People are gonna start believing that, Matt. You can't say that.
Jake married his cousin just over.
Yeah,
it's like
that's the funny story, man. When she was telling me that, I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, I think we were at a Halloween. Every time she meets someone new, she did it last night. Josh and I went out with our wives to dinner last night.
Not different wives, but our wives.
No, our wives, yeah. And we met with a friend that they hadn't met before, so he was one of our mentors we're working with, and he asked us. He was just very kind. What is your guys' story? And she's like, oh, we're cousins.
So then just leaves it there,
and then just. It doesn't explain anymore. I'm like, okay, you can't keep doing that. But anyways, back to the C players. I was looking at EODs for one of the companies that we're working with. EOD stands for end of day, and one of the guys posted was like number of consults taken 0, number of closes 0, number of dials made like 10, and he was a full-time person. And there's a question on there that says, "Are you on or off pace for the week?" And he was like, on pace. And I was reading that to Kay, my wife, and she was like, what is he on pace for? He's on pace to like live in his parents' basement?
And again, we're not just trying to crap on people and say negatively, but it's also like the reason why we have such high standards ourselves is how could we hold you to something that we don't hold ourselves to? And more importantly, why would you not want us holding you to the best version of yourself? Like, what is great about being mediocre? What is great about just getting by? I'm not saying everyone's going to go out and be some David Goggins. You know, I'm not saying everyone's running ultra marathons and all that, but I'm at least saying, what is the best version of you in this moment? And how do we help you achieve that? And that's what we want to do with every team member that we work with. And that's what we do strive to do with every team member we work with is how do we help you become the best version of yourself, be 1% better every day? Not major increments, just even 1% better. Yeah. How do we do that?
Yeah. So what does your offering look like? Who do you work with? Because are you a sales coach for individuals? Is it company based with a sales team? What does it look like?
Yeah.
I mean, really, essentially anyone who has like 2 to 3 salespeople and has a service based business. So as I was saying earlier, we help with their people, making sure they have the right people on the team. We then will dive into their actual sales process, the scripts that they're using, the CRM they're using, their follow-up, how they're managing their pipeline. And then after we've like audited their process and we've mapped that out, then we develop playbooks that they can implement with their people. And so anyone who has a service business, 2 to 3 salespeople on their team, we can help them grow.
I love it. Yeah. Do you guys have any examples of what you've done? Go ahead.
I was going to say individually, the way we work with people is sales professionals, business owners, like small to medium-sized business owners who still have sales responsibilities. They'll join the sales league, which is like a monthly subscription. It's like super small. It's not trying to do these like $10,000, $20,000 programs where you have to go and spend all this money for 3 months. It's more or less like, hey, do you want to be better day in, day out? So they'll come and join us there. We have real estate investors, people who are doing wholesaling, flipping, stuff like that, to high ticket closers, agency owners, people doing solar, roofing. I mean, it's kind of a wide gamut because sales is sales. It don't matter how you're executing it. That's kind of the nuance, and you'll customize what you do in that way. But communicating with people, knowing how to have active listening, knowing how to have strategic empathy, knowing how to have question-based diagnose phase, like that's applicable to anybody. So people will come, individuals will come work with us on that scale set, on that level. And we got places where people can come in if they're, what I say on a scale of 1 to 10, they're like 0 to 4, they can get in, they can get the basics and get going. Then there's a place for people who are like, they're more like that 4 to 7, doing good. Maybe they're doing, 8 to 12K a month and they want to be at 20 to 30K a month. So they're going to come in there and really sharpen their axe that way. And then we're getting ready to probably start launching something here real soon where it's that next tier. Like you've been in sales for a while, you know what you're doing, but now you're wanting to grow as a man or a woman, as a professional in the industry, not only in your skill set, but you're wanting to be around other like-minded people because you're probably getting ready to transition from a producer to an investor, a business owner, a trainer, a leader. There's a lot of leaders that we train as well, which has been a lot of fun.
I like that, how you have the different tiers. My thought is, the first step of the 3 steps of becoming an entrepreneur is understanding you don't want to be a W-2 for the rest of your life and stepping away from that. And you mentioned earlier, you were learning how to do sales when you were selling yourself before you knew what sales was. And a lot of people in a W-2 position that want to go out and take a step on their own, they need to learn how to communicate better. It could be just getting a bigger raise before you leave. Learning sales and how to sell yourself in conversation through empathetic listening is going to improve your relationship with your friends and your spouse, spouses, I almost said. But so even at the beginning level, if someone's not in sales, I think they can get some value out of Sales League. So is Sales League a weekly call, you said?
Yeah, so the Sales League happens 6 times a month. Basically, the first and third Tuesdays of the month, we do high-level sales mastery training. I do most of the teaching and the training, and then we bring in like just super, super high-level cats to come in and talk and speak. And so we do that twice a month. That's the Sales Mastery, and that happens every other Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Then every Thursday is what we call sales scrimmages. So that is basically you're going to go toe to toe with somebody. You hop on a link. On that link, you get spread out. You either have either just you and one other person, or there's a group of three sometimes. Because sometimes we see a group of three goes real well, where they have, and then we present a scenario. That's every Thursday, so 6 times a month. You get to really sharpen your axe in addition to whatever else you're doing.
Wow. Do you have a website for that?
Huh?
Do you have a website for that?
Yeah, we do, and
I'll make sure that we'll include the link for that website because I'm sure people are going to want to be checking that out. That sounds like pretty fun. I mean, you talk about getting in the batter's box with sales. That's it.
Oh yeah, it's great, and you get to, and it's such a safe environment to practice something you've been learning.
Dude, that's where you want to fail. Where, around your friends and people that are learning with you. That's where you want to fail, not on the doorstep of some prospect.
Yes, that's
not on the leads that you pay for either.
We had a lady that was knocking doors recently. I know we're probably almost out of time, but we had a lady knocking doors here recently, and she was like, "Well, I don't do phone sales." She's like, "How does this work?" I was like, "Go right now, knock on my door." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Pretend you're knocking on a door, knock on the dang door, and I'm going to answer the door." And she's like, "Because it's video," and so she does it. And you're like, and we switch it, and it's like, "Hello, how do you do, ladies?" And so it's like, we go through it. She immediately implements it that day and gets some deals.
Love it.
Just by simply, and all I did was tell her how to have her first 30 seconds to a minute locked down.
Dude,
just something super simple.
Growth is on the other side of comfortable. And it is so uncomfortable sitting there trying to do role playing with people you barely know.
Yeah.
Well,
but now she's making more money because of it. Not because of me, not because of all these things, but because she said, "I'm going to invest in myself, even though it's a small monthly investment. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to step up, learn this skill set. I'm going to be comfortable being uncomfortable so that I can go and have X." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not hard.
I love it, guys.
Yeah,
it's fulfilling. You know, when you and here's I want to end with this too, because as a W-2, and I was an architect, and I worked on these massively expensive residential projects. It was cool, but there was absolutely no fulfillment. If my income stayed the same, and I designed garages for guys in the outside of downtown Chicago for their Ferraris, the fulfillment is exponentially better. And so I call it a rate of return of happiness. It's not about the money, but if we could find the fulfillment, and learning how to sell yourself just in conversation is crucial. So I love what you guys are doing. We'll put a link for the Sales League down in the comments. You guys want to leave it with anything else? Final thoughts?
Sales changed my life. Join the Sales League. It'll change your life too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I would say this. No matter what you do, whether you partner with us, whether you partner with Matt, whether you partner with whomever, investing in yourself is the greatest investment. It's hands down. And guess what? Your probably first investment, second, third investment might not be the perfect yield or result. Doesn't mean that you stop. Just like riding a bike. You didn't, ride it the first time without falling a couple times. Failure is okay. Be okay with failing. Because you're only failing if you quit. So just don't quit and just keep going. And I promise you, you will see the results. Do the right things. That's what we say all the time. Person who can do the right things for the longest amount of time without seeing results. That's a sign of maturity in my mind.
I love it. Yeah. Josh, Jake, thank you so much for being here. RevX Partners and Sales League. We'll have links in the comments below if you guys want to learn more. Thank you so much for being here.
Man, thank you for having us, dude.
Thank you.
See you guys. I'll edit that. Cool.
Sweet.
Nice, guys. Good job.
Thanks,
yeah, thanks.
The Sales League, I feel like, is scalable like crazy. How do you get 2 versus 2 or 3 on on their own little call?
We just do it.
Right now it's manual. Yeah, so we just do breakout rooms inside of Zoom. And so typically it's about 45-minute hour call, first 5 minutes. This is literally how it works. Josh does a little intro. It's like, hey, this is the scenarios I want you guys to role play. And then during that time, as people are jumping in, I'll assign them to breakout rooms. So,
wow. That's pretty cool. I've never used a breakout room in Zoom, but I guess that's exactly what it's for, huh?
Yeah, I think we'll have to we have some ideas of where we'll need to be once we have 300 to 500 people showing up, and where we'll need to be once we have 1,000 plus. But it's awesome.
I love
really
it.
It's a cool place.
I love it.
If you ever want to hang out, let us know.
Yeah, man, I actually wouldn't mind it. I don't have formal sales training. I would consider myself fairly good with empathetic listening.
Yeah.
But, I'm just like everybody else. I still get nervous on those situations when you're role playing. It's like your butthole tightens up. You get a little more nervous than normal.
Yeah, I love it.
Palms are sweaty.
Yeah. Knees weak, arms are heavy.
Yeah. Maybe there's vomit already. Mom's spaghetti.
Sweet. All right, bro. Well, Josh, I'll let you go. I wanted to try and get 2-minute testimonial from Jake, so I can kind of slice it up into some for my website for life insurance and stuff.
I love it. Can I know it has to upload. Or are we good?
I'm still recording. Oh wait, so can you leave?
So if I leave, I know that you might want to stop it and then start it again.
Okay.
Because that way it will finish uploading. Because you remember, so it's recording on my end, and then it uploads to you.
Got it.
Let me stop local recording, and then that way, if there was ever an internet issue, it wouldn't